The bond between humans and animals is truly powerful, built on love, kindness, and mutual care. When we give, we often receive just as much in return. From a great white shark rescued from certain death to a squirrel that found a brand new family, here are 15 heartwarming moments when humans rescued animals and were thanked in the cutest ways. Number 15. The Sloth Savior. Even though they're pretty short on energy, there's something so cute about the sloth. Maybe it's that sweet little face, or just the fact that doing nothing all day is so utterly relatable, but sloths are adorable. And if this video is anything to go by, they're very grateful and polite creatures. This sloth was crossing the street in the middle of busy Rio de Janeiro during rush hour, a situation no animal wants to find themselves in, let alone one as slow as the sloth. Luckily, one animal lover happened to stumble upon the creature and decided to help. The driver, realizing the danger the sloth was in, carefully stopped traffic to ensure the little guy wouldn't get hurt. Other drivers honked in frustration, but many also smiled and cheered when they saw what was happening. As he carried the sloth to safety, the creature clung to his arm, almost as if it knew it was being rescued. Onlookers captured the moment, commenting on how the scene restored their faith in humanity. By the time the sloth reached the tree, a small crowd had gathered, applauding the rescuer for his kind-hearted gesture. The video shows the guy getting out of his car, picking up the animal, and hurrying across the road to return the sloth to its home, the tree. Once the sloth is safely on the tree, the guy steps back and offers a wave. "Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I'm so happy." The sloth turns its head slowly and lifts one of its arms out, as if waving back. How cute is that? We always knew that sloths took their time, but I didn't think anybody ever said they had manners. This sloth was clearly grateful that his life had been saved by a complete stranger. And that's just adorable. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now, or you'll have bad luck for an entire week. Number 14. The Huging Kangaroo. Kangaroos don't necessarily have a reputation for being loving. Actually, they're probably more famous for their boxing persona. But Abigail is not your average kangaroo. She's a hugger, not a fighter, and she proves that every single day of her life. When she was a 5-month-old baby, Abigail arrived at the Alice Springs Kangaroo Sanctuary. At the time, she was an orphan joey, scared and vulnerable, needing constant care to survive. The staff at the sanctuary worked tirelessly to ensure Abigail felt safe and loved, bottle-feeding her and keeping her warm. Over time, she began to trust her caretakers, showing small signs of affection that soon became her trademark hugs. The sanctuary visitors are often amazed by Abigail's gentle demeanor, marveling at how she interacts with her human friends. It's rare to see such a strong emotional bond between a wild animal and its caretakers, but Abigail's daily hugs are proof of her gratitude. 10 years later, and Abigail was a fully grown kangaroo. Not to mention the unofficial queen of the sanctuary, Queen Abby has apparently gained a reputation at the sanctuary as the most affectionate rescued animal in the world. And it's pretty obvious to see why. Apparently, Abigail is so grateful for the caretakers that have looked after her all this time that she insists on giving them a hug every single day. This unusual routine has been going on for years, and it seems everyone at the sanctuary is happy for it to go on for many more. Queen Abigail is easily one of the most affectionate and grateful animals you could find. Her caretakers adore her, and she loves them right back. And where, outside of kids' movies, can you see actual footage of a kangaroo hugging a human? Number 13. The Grateful Lion. That's right. While it sounds like the setup to some kind of insanely dark joke, a human woman found an injured lion in the forest and decided to help it. Luckily for everybody, the lion seemed to be pretty grateful for her intervention. After nursing the lion back to health, the woman made arrangements to have it transferred into a zoo, where he could have all his needs met and cared for. The process of rescuing the lion was far from easy, as the majestic animal was severely malnourished and unable to move. The woman spent weeks tending to the lion, feeding him carefully and treating his wounds with utmost care. During those days, a bond began to form, with the lion showing signs of trust toward his rescuer. Local veterinarians who assisted in the recovery were amazed by the lion's transformation, both physically and emotionally. By the time he was transferred to the zoo, the once broken animal had regained his strength and spirit, ready for a new life. And true to her wishes, that's exactly what happened. Many years later, the woman paid a visit to the zoo, hoping to see the lion whose life she saved. To her surprise, the lion recognized her immediately and jumped up the bars of his cage, pulling her close and hugging her. When approached by the woman who rescued him from circus life, a lion hugging a human, who would have thought it could ever happen, right? An image like this, the king of the jungle hugging the human that saved him, is incredibly powerful. It's also the perfect example of the strong bond between man and nature. Maybe if we were just a little kinder to animals, who knows what could happen. Within reason, obviously, don't go hugging lions. Please God, don't go hugging lions. Number 12. The Saved Swan. You know this is going to be a special one. Swans are notoriously unfriendly creatures that pretty much just attack anybody that gets close to them. So the idea of one showing gratitude is already pretty insane. But thankfully for all of us, the whole incident was recorded on camera. While shooting an episode of his show, Born to Explore, host Richard Weiss visited the UK's Abbotsbury Swanery. There he noticed an injured swan that had flown directly into a chain-link fence and hurt itself. Unwilling to let the swan continue to suffer, Weiss took it upon himself to help the swan escape its unfortunate predicament. The rescue itself was no easy task, as the swan was distressed and flapping its powerful wings in fear. Despite the challenges, Weiss remained calm, speaking softly to reassure the bird of his good intentions. Witnesses were astonished to see the swan relax in his arms, as though it understood he was trying to help. Over the following days, Weiss kept a close eye on the swan, ensuring it was healing properly before releasing it back into the swanery. The experience clearly left an impression on both man and bird, forging a unique connection between them. Swooping it into his arms, the swan surprisingly did not attack. She seemed to know she was in caring arms. Years later, Weiss returned to that Dorset swanery and met that same swan. To his surprise, the swan seemed to recognize him and quickly hurried to embrace him. Rarely is there a positive story to be shared about a swan. These animals are famous for being such unfriendly, violent creatures that it almost seems impossible for there to be any good news whatsoever. But thankfully, that's not the case. There truly is good in everyone. Number 11. The Days of the Condor. When a human and an animal bond, it can be a powerful thing. Even if the animal that the human is bonding with is, well, an incredibly strong bird of prey. For example, the condor, a world-famous vulture that you wouldn't really want to mess with. When Edgardo saw a baby condor fall from its nest in Argentina, he knew that he couldn't just sit and do nothing. Edgardo took the condor in as his own, nursing it back to health and then returning it to its home in the wild. During the months he cared for the bird, Edgardo formed a unique connection with the condor, often speaking to it as if it could understand him. The condor, in turn, began to trust Edgardo, relying on him for food and comfort as it recovered. Neighbors were amazed by the bond, often stopping by to watch Edgardo interact with the massive bird. When the time came to release it, Edgardo admitted he felt a pang of sadness but knew it was the right thing to do. Little did he know, that connection would endure long after the condor returned to the wild. But that wasn't the end of the story. Of course, years later, Edgardo returned to meet the condor that he saved as a baby. And, to his surprise, the condor seemed to recognize him. The video shows the condor, wings spread, approaching Edgardo as if for a hug. What an unexpected treat. The condor is not the kind of bird that you'd expect to be friendly with, well, anybody. But this video clearly shows that the condor considered Edgardo to be an old friend and deserved a little gratitude. And what better way to do that than with a hug? Number 10. Chimpanzee thanks Jane. Anybody that is even vaguely invested in the world of animals will know about the phenomenal work of Dame Jane Goodall. Goodall is considered the world's foremost expert on chimpanzees and continues to do her work with these incredible species even today. And it seems they love her just as much as she loves them. In June 2013, Dr. Goodall released the 15th chimpanzee into the wild of Chennai Zulu Island. When the chimp Wanda was taken in by Jane Goodall Institute's Chimpunga Chimpanzee Rehabilitation Center in the Republic of Congo, she was close to death. Wanda had suffered severe trauma, both physical and emotional, and it took months of dedicated effort to stabilize her condition. The team worked tirelessly, not only treating her injuries, but also helping her regain trust in humans. Goodall often visited Wanda personally, offering comfort and reassurance that she was in safe hands. Over time, Wanda began to show signs of improvement, her once hopeless eyes now filled with curiosity and life. By the time of her release, she had transformed into a strong and healthy chimp, ready to thrive in her natural habitat. Goodall and her team spent years caring for Wanda and getting her back to a healthy condition where she was ready for a life in the wild. Take a look at this video. The moment that Jane releases Wanda, the chimpanzee's very first reaction is to go and hug those that looked after her. And that includes a very special hug for Dr. Jane Goodall, the very reason that she's alive today. It's hard to explain quite how important Dr. Goodall's work has been for our planet, but I think Wanda's response says it better than anything else possibly could. Number 9. Norah the Dog. When she was 10 months old, Norah was pregnant and locked inside the filthy outdoor cage where she had spent her whole life. Luckily, Norah was rescued by the Spences, a husband and wife that couldn't live with the idea of this dog being left in these conditions. That's when her life changed. I would try to jump up on my lap when I was nursing him, After the adoption, Norah gave birth to a litter of 5 puppies, one of which died. The rest were given up for adoption, but Norah, who had lived a life of abuse and torment, was still scared of everything. It took months of patient love and care for her to begin trusting her new family. Archie, the Spence's son, seemed to have a calming effect on her that no one else could replicate. The two became inseparable, with Norah sleeping at his bedside every night. The family marveled at how Norah's maternal instincts extended to Archie, watching over him like a guardian. She even began to play and wag her tail, small but significant signs that her spirit was healing. That is, until she met the Spence's son, Archie. Norah treated him like her own child, protecting him from any danger and keeping him safe. 7 years after giving birth, one of Norah's adopted pups, Remington, were returned to the local animal shelter. The Spences were unsure if they wanted another dog. But once Norah and Remy saw one another, there was no question. It was like no time had passed whatsoever. Mother and daughter were reunited, and the Spences had a new dog. Norah and Remy now look after Archie and the kids like their own children. These rescue animals were given another chance at life, one filled with love, and they responded in kind. And isn't that what life is all about? Now it's time for today's topic. A group of sailors off the southern coast of Australia, near the icy waters of Antarctica, encountered an astonishing sight, a massive great white shark covered in barnacles, drifting sluggishly through the frigid sea. At first, they feared the creature might have succumbed to the cold, but a faint flick of its tail revealed it was still alive, albeit in distress. The shark's body was heavily encrusted with barnacles, its movements slow and labored, and a fresh wound near its gills hinted at a recent struggle. Realizing the creature was in dire need of help, the sailors decided to act. Using careful maneuvers, they guided the weakened shark closer to their vessel. Armed with scrapers and gloves, they worked tirelessly to remove the heavy barnacles that weighed it down. It was a tense, dangerous operation, but their dedication paid off. After several hours, the shark appeared rejuvenated, swimming more freely. In an extraordinary moment, the giant predator lingered by the boat, circling it in what seemed like a gesture of gratitude. The sailors watched in awe as the shark finally dove gracefully into the deep, leaving them with an unforgettable story of connection and compassion in the wild, icy waters near Antarctica. Number 8. Saving the puppy. I sincerely hope that there is not a person on this planet that does not love puppies. They are the purest, sweetest creatures you could hope to find on this planet, and we should be appreciative of them. Just look at this video and you'll see why. After she saw a scared puppy caught on a chain, this woman pulled her car over and hurried out to help. The chain was so tightly wrapped that it looked like the puppy had been stuck there for hours, terrified and alone. It's heartbreaking to think about how many animals suffer silently without someone like this woman to intervene. Her immediate reaction to stop everything and help highlights the kind of kindness we need more of in the world. Witnesses nearby were moved to tears as they saw her dedication to freeing the helpless puppy. It's as if the puppy, despite being so young, understood her intentions and trusted her completely. Moments like this remind us that even the smallest actions can create incredible bonds between humans and animals. After freeing the puppy, she decided to take him in and look after him properly. But while driving, the emotions got to be too much for her. The video shows what happens next. As she cries and tells the dog it's all okay, the dog keeps putting his paw on her hand and arm as if to comfort her too. And that's why we should all be grateful that puppies and dogs exist at all. People like this woman are rare gems in this dark world. She saw an animal in trouble, rescued him, and got the best thank you anybody could hope for, a cute pup comforting her. What more could you possibly want? Number 7. The Elk Thanks Firefighters. If ever you want to make an already adorable animal even cuter, give it a name like Buttons. The Buttons we're talking about is an elk, and a dang cute one at that. This has to be one of the most fabulous animal displays of gratitude I've ever seen. When a devastating wildfire erupted in Kittitas County, Washington, firefighters spent days working to put it out. The media heralded them as heroes. Locals were incredibly proud, but there was one group that couldn't show their gratitude until Buttons did it for them. Buttons had apparently been living near the area for some time, becoming a familiar face to a few locals. After the fire was extinguished, many thought she had fled the area, but her unexpected return shocked everyone. Her gentle nature and affection for the firefighters melted hearts, leaving many to believe she had somehow understood their efforts to save her habitat. Witnesses said it felt as though she knew exactly who to thank, moving from firefighter to firefighter without hesitation. One firefighter even joked that Buttons was better at showing gratitude than most people they'd met. After the fire was put out, Buttons the elk strolled into the Kittitas County Fire District, where the firefighters were stationed. Unprovoked, she approached each firefighter individually and began planting sweet kisses on each of their faces, as if she was saying, "Thank you," for all their hard work. And, Being the local heroes they are, the firefighters didn't shoot her. In fact, they let her wander around wherever she wanted. Button's act of gratitude is undoubtedly one of the most magnificent displays of animal thank you you'll ever see. Not only did the elk come down to show her appreciation, but she met every single one of the firefighters that put the blaze out. That's more than most politicians do. Number 6. Dear Fawn revisits Savior. Sometimes you find yourself in a situation in which you have no choice but to get help from others. You may not want it, you may not trust it, but that's just the way things go. This little deer got into that same situation when it fell down a hole, and who among us hasn't done that? Thankfully, there was a man nearby, ready to save the little guy from certain death. After reaching into the hole, he began saying soothing words to calm the deer, assuring him that there was no danger. The man's gentle tone seemed to work wonders, as the frightened fawn gradually stopped trembling and allowed him to help. Carefully, he cradled the fawn, mindful of its tiny and fragile body. Neighbors who witnessed the rescue were deeply moved, calling it an act of pure kindness. The moment the fawn was reunited with its mother was described as magical, with the doe nuzzling her baby as if to say, "Thank you." It's rare to see wild animals show such visible affection, but this fawn's story is a beautiful reminder of how bonds can transcend species. Eventually, he was able to retrieve the deer safely and return it to his mother. It soon became clear that the rescued fawn had actually just been born and was still learning to walk. Some time later, when the fawn had grown into a big boy, he and his mother began to pay regular visits to the boy's savior, as if to say hello and thank you. Given that it had only been born recently, it must have been a pretty terrifying way to start your life. But thankfully, the fawn survived and has been showing his gratitude ever since. And how cute that his mother tags along too. Number 5. Bella the Squirrel. Can you believe some people don't like squirrels? Admittedly, they do have a habit of digging up gardeners' plants, but that's just their culture. You can't hold that against them. Thankfully, we have some people like Brantley Harrison to balance out the anti-squirrel mindset. In 2009, Brantley Harrison and her family discovered a squirrel that had been severely wounded by an owl. Refusing to let it die, Harrison took it in, naming her Bella and treating her for a full 5 months until she was back to normal. During her time with the Harrison family, Bella quickly became a part of their daily lives, often entertaining them with her playful antics. She would climb onto their shoulders, nibble on treats they gave her, and even nap in their laps as if she had always been a part of their family. The bond they shared became so strong that the family was reluctant to release her back into the wild. However, knowing that Bella belonged in nature, they made the tough decision, hoping she would thrive. Little did they know, Bella would defy expectations and refuse to let go of her connection with them. Her determination to return and express her gratitude amazed everyone. Eventually, though, it came time for Bella to go back to her home in the wild. But she didn't forget her saviors. 8 years later, Bella still finds time every day to come home and visit the family that helped her recover. That's real gratitude. The story of Bella the Squirrel is just another example of how a simple act of kindness can completely change the life of another. In this case, the squirrel was so grateful for the kindness she was shown that she still managed to find a way to show gratitude 8 years later. Number 4. A wild deer. Anybody that's ever seen one in the wild knows just how shy deer can be. They're near impossible to see up close, without the animal bolting in complete fear. But apparently, if you happen to look after this animal as a baby, they will be happy to see you up close. After her mother was killed by hunters, this innocent deer fawn was rescued by a sweet-hearted woman who just wanted to protect her. Initially, the fawn was frail and too scared to even move, but the woman's patient care helped her regain strength. Over time, the deer began to recognize the woman as a source of safety and comfort, forming a bond that seemed almost unbreakable. Even when released into the wild, the deer would occasionally be spotted near the woman's property, as if keeping an eye on her savior. This unusual friendship became the talk of the neighborhood, with neighbors marveling at the deer's loyalty and trust. It's rare to witness such a connection between a wild animal and a human, but it's a testament to the power of compassion. After a period of nursing, the deer finally got better, and the woman and her family released the fawn back into the wild. But years later, the deer began making regular visits back to the woman that saved her life, as if hoping to show gratitude. And when she does, the woman allows the deer into her house and feeds her as a little treat. How adorable is that? As a result of human aggression, deer are terrified of us. But this footage just goes to show that a little bit of human kindness can make all the difference. In fact, you may even make a new friend. Number 3. Rocky. Those that rescue animals aren't looking for some kind of reward, but sometimes you get lucky. For this firefighter, he got the best prize of all, a new best friend in the form of an adorable little pup named Rocky. Immediately kissing that fire captain again and showing his love, Fire Captain Paul Byrant was called out to North Charleston on a report of a puppy trapped beneath rocks and concrete. But he probably didn't expect that the puppy would be quite so grateful for having been rescued from possible death. The rescue itself was no easy task, as Byrant and his team had to carefully navigate the delicate structure to ensure the puppy wasn't harmed. Witnesses described the moment as heartwarming, with cheers erupting when Rocky was finally pulled to safety. The bond between the two was instant, as though the little pup somehow knew Byrant had saved his life. The firefighter later admitted that he couldn't stop thinking about Rocky during his shift and felt a deep connection to the pup. Stories like this remind us of the incredible trust and affection animals can show when given a second chance at life. After making room for the puppy to escape, Byrant was met with a lot of excited puppy kisses. Rocky, as he came to be known, was quickly taken to an emergency vet that noted the puppy wasn't chipped, meaning that he was most likely not belonging to anybody. Believing that this whole thing was fate, Byrant requested to adopt the puppy and succeeded in doing so. Today, Rocky is still Byrant's proud pup, and he no doubt shows his gratitude every day. While every dog is a loyal friend to its owner, chances are that having your life saved is something that truly does bring you closer. Number 2. The Thankful Koala. The koala. One of the cutest animals you could hope to find anywhere in the... One of the cutest animals you could hope to find localized exclusively to Australia. Admittedly, that's kind of a small pool of animals. Still true, though. This video captures the moment that a man discovered an extremely lethargic koala struggling on Australia's hottest day of the year. Because of the Australian drought, it seems the koala was unable to get enough moisture from his local eucalyptus tree and was settled on the side of the road with no energy to move. It's heartbreaking to think that this iconic symbol of Australia is struggling for survival due to climate conditions. The man's quick thinking and compassion show just how important small actions can be in the face of environmental crises. Witnesses nearby were equally moved, recording the touching moment to share with others around the world. The koala's struggle is a stark reminder of how delicate Australia's wildlife is when faced with extreme weather. Many people underestimate just how dependent koalas are on their environment, especially eucalyptus leaves, which serve as both food and water. While their calm demeanor may suggest resilience, this story highlights how they are far more vulnerable than most realize. Then this man decided to do something about it. Using his water bottles, he begins feeding the koala the water he so desperately needs. While his attempts to get the koala to dip his paws in the cold water in the nearby sink get nowhere, the koala does something pretty surprising. He reaches over, grabbing the man's hand, and pulling it closer, holding it in his paws as he takes another sip from the bottle. Koalas are naturally shy animals. The fact that they're willing to spend time with humans suggests that their drought situation is pretty urgent. And seeing that this man is ready to help such beautiful animals is just so wonderful to watch. Doesn't it give you some much-needed hope? Number 1. South American Magellanic Penguin. When your life is saved by a stranger, you owe an enormous debt of gratitude to them. But how far would you go to show that gratitude? For one penguin, the answer is 5,000 miles every year without fail. That's a lot of swimming. When this penguin was just a tiny little baby, João Pira de Souza, who found him covered in oil and near death on a Brazilian beach, Pira could not merely allow this and was released into the wild. The penguin, affectionately named Din Dim by João, forms an unbreakable bond with his rescuer. Despite being a wild animal, Din Dim navigates countless dangers in the vast ocean during his journey. Experts believe this extraordinary behavior is almost unheard of in penguins, as they rarely show such personal connections with humans. Din Dim spends 8 months each year with João, as if acknowledging him as his second family. Locals are amazed by the penguin's intelligence and loyalty, often gathering to witness the reunion. Marine biologists are baffled by how Din Dim can remember the exact location of João's home every year. This remarkable story showcases the depth of gratitude and emotional intelligence animals are capable of displaying. But every year, the penguin makes a 5,000-mile journey to meet the man that saved his life. And you can see from the video just how moving the reunion can be. What's most surprising about this is the length of the journey that one penguin will take to be reunited with an old friend. This is not a one-and-done journey, but an annual show of gratitude. How moving is that? Are you tearing up, or is it just me? Which of these heartfelt thank yous touched you the most? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to check out the other cool videos on the screen, and we'll see you next time.